Happy holidays, everybody, and Tony here with my final tribute to one of my most favorite Nicktoon Christmas specials of all time. I'm, of course, talking about Rocko's Modern Christmas from Rocko's Modern Life, which aired on Nickelodeon on December 1, 1994. This episode was directed and written by Doug Lawrence, and it was co-written by the show creator Joe Murray, Martin Olson, Tim Hill, and Robert McNally Skull. Rocko's Modern Life certainly doesn't need any more introductions as one of my most favorite Nicktoons of the early 90s, ranking alongside Rugrats, Doug, and Ren and Stimpy. And this Christmas special manages to excel in its own special way. It starts off with Rocko feeling quite disappointed that O-Town has not been seeing snow for quite some time, especially with a cloud trying to produce said snow, but all it manages to fart out of its system is a speck of hail that lands on Rocko's eye, and we are treated to what has to be an absolutely and wonderfully gorgeous opening sequence of Rocko in a snowy wonderland riding on his sled with Spunky, giving gifts to the big heads, and even giving gifts to Heifer and Filbert, who are ice skating. And this opening is my personal favorite because it manages to capture that gorgeousness of a snowy landscape, but also that warm, fuzzy feeling you feel inside whenever you think about Christmas. And it does so with such wonder and a fair amount of hilarity to boot. There are even some new neighbors coming in the form of elves, and this also spurs him on to not only invite the new neighbors for a Christmas party, but also all of his friends. However, there is one curmudgeon who doesn't really revel in the Christmas joy, and that is none other than Ed Bighead, who, of course, acts as one big Scrooge. But that doesn't stop Rocko from shopping for Christmas goodies, such as a Christmas tree bought from Filbert and Heifer, especially when the Christmas tree acts like a puppy, and once it is sawed by Heifer, it ends up being collapsed to him as if though he were euthanized. And we're even treated to Fruitcake Man, who is also one of my most favorite one-time characters in Rocko's Modern Life. He's basically the replacement of the usual mall Santa Claus, and when he tries to calm the kid down after it's crying, it ends up biting on Fruitcake Man, thus writhing in pain and fainting. Little does Rocko know, he has a new little friend along the way in the form of a little elf who is at first bullied by some shoe salesmen who are alligators, but once Rocko sees this happening and plays a game of fetch with the shoe salesman, which I thought was absolutely hilarious, the two quickly bond, and Rocko is even introduced to the little elf's family, headed by the father elf, and he even has some brothers alongside him with such really cute names, ranging from Pliers to Mango, because the father elf states that he calls one of the elves Mango because he was feeling fruity. But there is one particular elf who is missing from their home, and that is none other than Mitch, the three-footed elf. And Rocko is more than happy to invite the elves to his Christmas party, which unfortunately leads Ed to spread a vile rumor that Rocko is inviting elves who are extremely contagious and will make them sick. And the first victim to end up receiving that is Filbert, who ends up being choked with hives, and the party is unfortunately canceled. Poor Rocko is quite downtrodden until the little elf shows up and Rocko reads The Night Before Christmas to the little elf, which I thought was an absolutely sweet moment between the two friends. And what was also quite lovely about the scene before Rocko's supposed party was how all of the goodies and all the treats and everything was arranged, especially to the tune of O Christmas Tree, known in German as O Tannenbaum. And I thought it was just so sweet and so lovely, even though it was just a snippet of the moment. Once Rocko ends up falling asleep, the little elf is not only touched by Rocko's kindness, but is also thinking, what can he do to make him happy? And that's when he sees the cloud that tries to make everything snow. The little elf tries to make it laugh, and he even tries to make it entertain through his magic tricks, but it's no use. That is until the little elf remembers that kind deed that Rocko has done when he saved him from the mean bullying shoe salesman. Does a heart pop out to show that he is full of love for the good deed Rocko has done to him. And this heart manages to touch the cloud, and he makes everything snow, especially in Rocko's house. Once all of Rocko's friends, from Heifer to Filbert to Dr. Hutchinson to even Peaches, the prince of the underworld, and really Big Man, as well as Gladys, the hippo lady, see all this action happening, they even come to Rocko's house to say their apologies, especially Heifer, who stated that he was really sorry for neglecting Rocko because he was so busy selling the trees. And even Heifer and Dr. Hutchinson say their apologies for that rumor. Nevertheless, Rocko was so kind to forgive them that the party ends up going in full swing. Even Mitch arrives in the scene to state that he didn't end up missing, but rather he was quite disillusioned that the Christmas joy and the holiday spirit were compromised and were not really there in the city of O-Town. That is until the little elf and Rocko managed to make that happen. And the party manages to go in full swing, and once the little elf ends up showing an invitation to the party to Mr. Bighead, or Ed, feels so touched that he even gets a sort of disproportionate retribution courtesy of the little elf for what he has done, being such a curmudgeon and trying to be such a huge party pooper. First, the little elf ends up kicking him in the shin, then all his elf brothers end up tying him with Christmas lights until he ends up crashing to Rocko's house, hung like a Christmas lantern, which I thought was just so satisfying and so hilarious, and it just left me with a huge smile on my face every time I see Ed Bighead get his just desserts. And this was one of my most favorite moments that I've seen. And of course, the episode ends really happily with Rocko getting a call from his family and the house being full of love, everything snowing, and it's the first time O-Town has seen snow, especially with the post-credit scene of the elves chasing a robot Santa and all the denizens throwing out their Christmas trees, which then ends the episode in its entirety. So overall, I definitely had a major ball with Rocko's Modern Christmas. The story was entertaining all the way through. I never felt bored, and the characters were all lovable. Even Ed Bighead, despite being such a huge curmudgeon, was a pretty likable curmudgeon, given how over the top he was, and given how delightfully nasty he was at trying to ruin Rocko's Christmas party, but with no success whatsoever. The star of the show definitely has to be the little elf. What is implemented for this character are a lot of musical cues, especially from the harpsichord, and a lot of pizzicato movements to give the little elf his vivacity and his overall charm. And whenever he's down, sometimes there will be a descending chord or even the usage of a bassoon to show how sad he is. And whenever he's happy or jolly, there will be a lot of moments of harpsichord pizzicatos and ascending scales to show just how vivacious and how fun-loving and how sweet this little guy can be. And as much as I love the main voice cast consisting of the likes of Carlos Alazraqui and Tom Kenny as Rocko and Heifer respectively, they also surprised me when they managed to voice Mitch and the Father Elf. In terms of Carlos Alazraqui's delivery as Mitch, the long lost elf with three legs, he was able to give a noble and dashing tone, which makes him brave and wise at the same time, and also thoroughly entertaining. Whereas with Tom Kenny, the guy cannot do any wrong, as he was able to give the Father Elf his deadpan and smooth sounding baritone voice, especially helped when he was talk singing the first few lines of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, though mentioning his sons. I would have also loved to hear his rendition of Mitch, the 3-foot elf, to the tune of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That would have been really hilarious. So what more can I say about Rocko's Modern Christmas? It was fun. It was absolutely hilarious from beginning to end. It was exciting, and it was so heartwarming, especially those moments Rocko and the little elf had. The cherry on top of their friendship was when he was reading The Night Before Christmas to the little elf, which I thought was really endearing, really sweet, and it just showed a lot of genuineness in what is otherwise quite subtle and not too obvious. If there is one-time friendship that will forever capture my heart and will forever prevail in my memory, it has to be the friendship between Rocko and the little elf. And this Christmas special managed to remind me of how great the company of friends and family is, especially in this holiday season. And for those of you who had a lot of fond memories with Rocko's Modern Christmas, what'd you think of it? Did you feel like the little elf stole the show without any dialogue and with a lot of musical cues to give him a lot of vivacity and charm? Was there a moment you truly loved, whether it be the cloud finally obtaining a lot of love from the little elf, thanks to the little elf remembering the kind deed that Rocko has done to him? Or did you feel like the special didn't really have anything special to offer you? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's it for my tribute to Rocko's Modern Christmas from Rocko's Modern Life. Stay tuned much later, where I then move on to Adult Swim, where I make a tribute to Robot Chicken's Christmas special from, of course, Robot Chicken. So until then, happy holidays, everybody.